The episode started like any other high-energy installment of The Kelly Clarkson Show, with Kelly greeting the audience and introducing her guest, the legendary Jon Bon Jovi. Fans erupted into applause as the rock icon walked onto the set, flashing his signature smile and waving. At first, the conversation flowed smoothly. Kelly asked about his new music, upcoming tours, and even joked about how his hair still looked like it belonged on a 90s rock poster. But things took a sharp turn when Kelly, leaning into her usual candid style, brought up some controversial comments Jon had made in a recent magazine interview about the state of modern music. Jon's easy smile faltered, and the audience felt the first crack in the friendly facade. Asterisk, Kelly pressed, asking whether he truly believed most modern pop stars lacked real artistry, a statement he had been quoted as saying. Jon tried to sidestep, saying quotes were often taken out of context, but Kelly wouldn't let it go. "But you did say it, right? That today's music is mostly manufactured?" she asked, tilting her head. The crowd let out an audible ooh, sensing tension. Jon shifted in his seat, explaining that he meant there was less emphasis on musicianship compared to his era. Kelly, a pop star herself, smirked and replied, "I guess some of us are still out here proving you wrong." The air in the studio grew heavy. Asterisk, Jon chuckled, but it was a forced laugh, and the conversation turned into a subtle back-and-forth sparring match. Kelly brought up examples of modern artists who write and produce their own music, challenging Jon's claim. Jon countered by talking about the grueling years of live performances and bar gigs that bands like his had to survive before fame, something he said few modern acts experience. Kelly's smile became tighter. "Are you saying I didn't work for my career?" she asked, her voice light but with a noticeable edge. The audience collectively inhaled, sensing that the conversation had taken a personal turn. Asterisk, Jon raised his hands in a defensive gesture. "Kelly, I'm not talking about you personally. You've got the chops. But you know what I mean. Industry plants, viral fame." Kelly cut in sharply. "Well, some of us came up through TV competitions. But that doesn't mean we didn't earn our spot." The temperature in the room spiked. Even the band stopped playing their light background riffs, as if sensing that no music could soften the moment. A few audience members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, while the cameras stayed fixed on the escalating exchange. Asterisk, Kelly tried to steer the discussion toward a light-hearted game segment, but Jon wasn't ready to let go. "I just think music has lost some of its soul," he said, his tone carrying more bite now. Kelly laughed without humor. "And yet you're here promoting your new album to the very audience you think is killing the soul of music." The jab landed hard, and Jon's expression changed instantly. He leaned forward, his voice lower. "Careful, Kelly, you invited me here." It wasn't loud, but it was the kind of comment that made the room feel smaller, more tense, like something private had just spilled into the public space. Asterisk, the crowd's reaction was a mix of gasps and uneasy laughter. Kelly responded by straightening in her chair, looking directly at him. "I did invite you, Jon, but I didn't invite the condescension." Jenna, one of the co-hosts, tried to jump in with a question about the charity work Jon was doing, but the two barely acknowledged her. The atmosphere was now electric with discomfort. Kelly glanced toward the control booth, as if weighing whether to cut to commercial, but instead she leaned back, crossed her arms, and said, "If you're going to sit here and dismiss my generation of musicians, maybe this isn't the right place for you." Asterisk, Jon's jaw tightened, and after a brief pause, he removed his mic clip from his jacket. "Maybe it isn't," he said calmly, but with a finality that was unmistakable. The audience gasped again, watching in disbelief as the rock legend stood up. Kelly blinked, clearly surprised that he was actually leaving. "Oh, come on, really?" she said, half laughing in disbelief. But Jon didn't slow down. He gave a small wave to the audience, saying, "Thanks for having me," before walking off stage. The camera caught the stunned look on Kelly's face, before quickly cutting to an awkward wide shot of the set. Asterisk, the band played a half-hearted musical cue as the crew scrambled to figure out what to do next. Kelly, now visibly rattled, tried to keep the show moving by addressing the audience directly. "Well, that was unexpected," she said with a forced smile. The audience clapped politely, but the energy had completely shifted. Social media began lighting up in real time, with viewers tweeting things like, Did Jon Bon Jovi just walk out on Kelly Clarkson and biggest daytime TV moment of the year? Asterisk backstage, Jon was met by his publicist, who looked both panicked and resigned. "We'll spin it," she whispered, as they hurried toward the exit. Meanwhile, Kelly's producers were debating whether to address the incident head-on in the next segment or ignore it entirely. Ultimately, they decided to carry on, but the tension lingered for the rest of the show. Clips of Jon's walk-off were already being clipped and shared across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Asterisk by evening, entertainment news outlets were running with the story, dissecting every moment of the clash. Some praised Kelly for standing her ground. Others defended Jon's right to his opinion, and a few suggested the whole thing might have been a staged stunt for publicity. Neither Kelly nor Jon released an official statement that day, letting the internet debate run wild. But one thing was undeniable: the moment had cemented itself in talk show history. A clash between two musical icons that nobody saw coming, and nobody would soon forget. Kelly tried to steer the conversation back to Jon's upcoming tours, but the spark in his eyes had dimmed into something harder. "You want to talk about the music?" Jon said, his voice low but cutting. "But the truth is, Kelly, you've been pushing your own narrative all morning." The audience reacted with a soft ripple of murmurs, sensing the tension rising again. Kelly leaned forward, a tight smile on her lips, and replied, "I'm just doing my job, Jon, asking questions people want answered." His laugh was humorless. "No, you're asking the questions you want answered." The air between them felt charged, like a storm about to break. Asterisk for a moment, the set was silent except for the faint hum of the cameras. Kelly crossed her arms, and Jon matched her posture, both refusing to break eye contact. "You know, Jon," Kelly said carefully, "you've been in this industry long enough to know how these things work. If you didn't want to address it, you could have just said so." Jon's jaw tightened. "I'm not here to play games. I'm here for the fans. But I won't sit here while someone twists my words." The crowd let out a collective gasp, some leaning forward as if they couldn't believe what they were witnessing live on daytime TV. Asterisk, Kelly's voice dropped an octave, a subtle sign that she was no longer in light-hearted host mode. "Twists your words or hold you accountable." That was the breaking point. Jon pushed back his chair, the scraping sound echoing unnervingly loud through the studio. "You know what? I don't need this." His tone was flat, final. He stood, adjusted his jacket, and gave the audience a brief nod. Kelly's hand twitched, like she might try to stop him, but she stayed seated. Her eyes locked on him with a mixture of shock and challenge. Asterisk, the audience erupted into awkward applause, unsure if it was out of support or sheer discomfort. Jon strode toward the edge of the stage, and a producer tried to intercept him, whispering urgently, but he brushed past without looking back. Kelly turned to the camera, a faint smirk appearing as she said, "Well, looks like we'll be taking a short break." Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of Jon's walk-off flooded TikTok, Instagram, and X, with viewers debating whether Kelly had crossed a line or Jon had overreacted. Asterisk, backstage, Taz's team was already preparing a statement, while Kelly sat in her dressing room after the show, scrolling through the flood of reactions. Both sides were digging in. Jon's fans were calling Kelly disrespectful, while Kelly's supporters praised her for not backing down. Entertainment outlets wasted no time booking panel discussions to dissect every word and gesture. By nightfall, the clash had become the top trending topic online, solidifying its place as one of the most unexpected and electrifying moments in the Kelly Clarkson Show's history. The following morning, Jon Bon Jovi appeared via satellite on a popular morning news show. His image beamed in from his home studio. The host wasted no time addressing the elephant in the room. "Jon, yesterday's walk-off from the Kelly Clarkson Show, what happened?" Jon leaned back in his chair, his hands clasped. "Look, I've been in this business for decades. I've dealt with criticism, rumors, all of it. But there's a way to have a respectful conversation. Yesterday, it stopped being about the music and turned into something personal, and I don't engage in that." His tone was measured, but the flicker of irritation was still there. Meanwhile, Kelly Clarkson was live on her own show, opening with a monologue that directly addressed the incident. "I want to talk about what happened yesterday because I know it's everywhere," she began, her voice calm but carrying an edge. "I asked tough questions. That's my job. Sometimes, guests don't like them. I respect Jon. I respect his career, but I also respect myself enough not to shy mess.